So, Clockwork Angel is the story of Tessa, a girl, a very ordinary American girl in 1878 who comes to London because her brother had gotten a job there and he sends her fare to join him. But when she arrives there, she is met not by her brother but by a pair of evil warlock women who kidnap her and teach her over the course of some months that she has a very special and unique power and that she is being prepared for marriage to someone called the Magister, who she doesn't know who that is, but she is desperate to escape their clutches. So she is trying to escape. She's locked in the bedroom that they've been keeping her in. And let's see. Okay, so the evil warlock ladies are called Mrs. Dark and Mrs. Black. I did not name that one after Holly, really, I promise. So, alright, here is Tessa trying to get out of her room. A noise behind her made her whirl. The knob of the bedroom door was turning, twisting back and forth as if the person on the other side was having difficulty getting the door open. Mrs. Dark, she thought. She's back to whip her until she was bloody, back to take her to the Magister. Hurrying across the room, she seized the porcelain jug. It's really hard to turn the pages of this thing. From the washstand and scuttled behind the door, the jug gripped hard in her whitened fist. The knob turned, the door opened. In the dimness, all Tessa could see was shadows as someone stepped into the room. She lunged forward, swinging the jug with all of her strength. The shadowy figure moved, quick as a whip, but not quite quick enough. The jug slammed into its outstretched arm before flying from Tessa's grasp to crash into the far wall. Broken crockery rained down on the floor as the stranger yelled. The yell was undeniably a masculine one, so was the flood of cursing that followed. She backed away, then dashed for the door, but it had slammed shut, and tug as she would on the knob, it wouldn't budge. Bright light blazed through the room as if the sun had risen. Tessa spun, blinking away the tears in her eyes, and stared. There was a boy standing in front of her. Couldn't have been much older than her, 17, maybe 18. He was dressed in what looked like workman's clothes, a frayed black jacket and trousers, and tough-looking boots. He wore no waistcoat, and thick leather straps crisscrossed his waist and chest. Attached to the straps were weapons, daggers, folding knives, and things that looked like blades made of ice. In his right hand he held what looked like a sort of stone. It was shining, providing the light in the room that had nearly blinded her. His other hand was bleeding, where she had gashed the back of it with her pitcher. But that wasn't what made her stare. He had the most beautiful face she'd ever seen. Tangled black hair and eyes like blue glass. Elegant cheekbones and long, thick lashes. He looked like every fictional hero she'd ever conjured up in her head, although she'd never imagined one of them cursing at her while shaking his bleeding hand in an accusing fashion. He seemed to realize she was staring at him because the cursing stopped. "You cut me," he said. His voice was pleasant, British, very ordinary. He looked at his hand with interest. It could be fatal. Tessa looked at him with wide eyes. "Are you the Magister?" He tilted his hand to the side. Blood ran down it, spattering the floor. "Dear me, massive blood loss. Death, imminent." "Are you the Magister?" "Magister?" He looked mildly surprised by her vehemence. "That means master in Latin, doesn't it?" Tessa was feeling increasingly as if she were trapped in a strange dream. "I suppose that it does." "I've mastered many things in my life," he said. "Navigating the streets of London, speaking French with no accent, dancing the quadrille, the Japanese art of flower arranging, lying at charades, concealing a highly intoxicated state, delighting young women with my charms." Tessa stared. "But no one has ever actually referred to me as the Master. Or the Magister either. More's the pity." "Are you highly intoxicated at the moment?" Tessa meant the question in all seriousness, but realized the moment the words were out of her mouth that she must sound awfully rude, or worse, flirtatious. He seemed too steady on his feet to really be drunk. She'd seen her brother drunk enough times to know the difference. Perhaps he was merely insane. "How very direct. But I suppose all you Americans are, aren't you?" The boy looked amused. "Yes, your accent gives you away. What's your name, then?" She looked at him in disbelief. "What's my name? Don't you know it?" You've come bursting in my room, scared me nearly to death, and now you demand to know my name? What's your name, and who are you? My name is Harrendale, the boy said, William Harrendale, but everybody calls me Will.